Hi everyone, welcome. I'm preparing to feed a couple of my worm bins that have red wiggler worms living in them, but these are the worms that I refer to as my original red wiggler worms. And I've had kind of a running theme in these systems for the past few check-ins where the water bottle kept coming out so that we could try to moisten the material that the worms inhabit, because the bins seem a little bit dry, and since they're only covered with a sheet of newspaper, it kind of explains why, I think. So my idea today was to come in with a kind of a fluid, almost like a, I don't know, this is all just peppers, just peppers, raw peppers that I threw into my little mini blender. And this is what I was going to feed the worms today. So it's semi-liquid, it's kind of like a smoothie consistency. And then I got to thinking, oh, it'd be nice if there was some way to keep that stuff from just, dribbling down to the bottom. I mean, it's pretty thick. It might not do that anyway. So I kind of got into this weird arts and craftsy mood. So I took some of this and I turned it into some of these little worm bin shot glasses. And, it was funny because some of you might already be one step ahead of me on this. But then I got to thinking right after I was done making those, geez, don't I already have something that would probably suit that same purpose? Handy that I wouldn't have to fabricate from scratch. Well, I did, and I thought of it kind of late in the game, but whatever. Let's get these little guys fed. The bins are already all set to go. I just need to get my gloves on and we could proceed. I've got other things here within reach. I've got my my prepared bedding right behind me, and I've got my squirt bottle on the ready as well, all within easy reach. And we'll apply whatever we feel that we need to in whatever quantities we decide is best. So the way we moistened these systems last time was that I included a good bit of moisturized or dampened bedding. My prepared bedding's already damp anyway. It's the way I prepare it and store it, in a closed container. But just to give it that little extra dampness, we came in here pretty generously with the squirt bottle. And then we also kind of tilled up the outer edges and mixed some moisture in there as well. So it is kind of nice that you don't have to dig very deep to find worms cruising around already. That's a good sign. Here's a pumpkin stem. Yeah, we're almost at the end of September here. I would think that by the time this video goes to the channel, it'll already be in the month of October. So soon we'll have more. Yeah, soon we'll have more pumpkin stems, I'm sure. But that pretty much also tells you that these pumpkin stems have been in here for probably close to a year at this point. They do take a good long time to break down. So I'm just kind of gradually making my way down into the feeding areas, finding a good bit of the bedding we left behind for them. We were quite generous with the bedding. And some of these chunks feel like maybe little bits of leftover from the last feeding 10 days ago. I am glad to see that as far as moisture goes, there's really no major reason for alarm. In fact, things were even starting to look better by the last time we came in here, because we actually went right to the outer edges to make sure that there were worms there and that it was comfortable enough for worms to be there. Because the prior visit, we found the outer edges to be kind of barren of any worm activity, but last time the outer edges already had a good bit of worms hanging out, as do they now here again. So I think that the reason for concern is kind of going away gradually with these additions of moisture. I mean, it even makes me wonder, I did pull out a few sheets of bubble wrap that we could use to cover up with at the end. And I've got them right here within reach too. And that was kind of my original game plan with these guys, was to possibly finish the feeding by enhancing their top coverings, to add a sheet of plastic to help the systems hang on to their moisture content. And I don't really see any harm in taking that course of action once we're done here. So we might do just that. But I guess I'll have to decide. It is kind of nice though to see that the food they got 10 days ago has for the most part been consumed. A couple of little chunks of stuff I encountered along the way seemed like they might be leftovers from that last feeding, but certainly not much. And, well, I guess since it's raining, one of the other systems that would have technically come ahead of this bin in terms of who to feed next, based on the amount of time that's passed since the last feeding, I believe was going to be the outdoor worm bag. So that's just going to have to wait until a nicer day. Doing that system is obviously doable in the rain, but who wants to go out there in the rain? I'd rather do it on a nice, bright day when it's easy to see what we're doing, and I don't have to get wet in the process. So let's get on to feeding these little guys. I've got some of my prepared bedding here, which I figured could be a good foundation onto which we can position our little worm bin shot glasses. So let's see how they look if we were to drop them down in here. I got 5 for each bin. And if you think if I would have just used a egg carton, I would have even had an upgrade. I would have had 6 for each bin. But whatever, I think these are kind of nifty. And I was kind of in a crafty mood, so what the heck. These little gadgets will help hang on to the damp food that they're getting, while whatever it is that ends up not going into a little worm bin shot glass will probably just flow through, maybe. This one got tipped over. Alright, so I guess gotta watch out, because once that stuff starts flowing, it seems to come out like in a big lump. So I'm gonna see what I can do about. Whoa, okay. This stuff kind of goes from one consistency to another pretty quickly. And even in the little cup, the blender cup, I was already starting to see the way the material was separating to a certain point. But I could also see that some of the pepper seeds that I tried grinding up in the process survived. Good many of them throughout this stuff, but doesn't matter to me. Where did I? Here we go. Just want to come in with a little bit more bedding. Seemed like we could be pretty generous, because yesterday I got my shredder out and I created a couple buckets full of bedding material. Well, it's not this prepared bedding, because this prepared bedding is damp and it's got some leaves mixed into it too, so it's a little bit more special than just the shredded paper cardboard mix that I've got about 10 gallons of now. So this is a little bit more special, a little nicer. And that to me seems like a pretty awesome feeding. And you know, like I said, I got my spray bottle. One thing we did during the last check-in was we did significantly dampen the bedding we were throwing in. And I wouldn't be surprised if that had a lot to do with making these systems seemingly much more comfortable than they have been recently. And it is good to see worms kind of hanging out in the outskirts. And geez, I always forget to return the old food scraps back down into the feeding area. Let's get that down in here too before we cover up. So, a couple of pumpkin stems, which at some point I guess will start softening up enough that maybe we can start busting them up and try helping them along. Been trying to break out of my habit of allowing things just to break down at their own pace, because something like a stem of a pumpkin, well, that's going to take quite some time at its own pace. So giving that a little bit of help probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Man, the material out here is starting to get nicer and nicer. I mean, just out of reference, I did want to review the past couple check-ins, so I went back a couple videos, back to the point where we were tilling the outer edges like so, and finding very few, if any, worms out there. So it is good to see that the worms have returned to the outer edges and that indicates to me that the material in their system is comfortable enough that they can be pretty much anywhere they want in the bin. And you know what? Like I said before, if the previous dampenings are part of what helped these outer edges sort of become inhabitable and comfortable again, then why not just do it again? Yeah, I think this is going to be good. Kind of makes me even wonder, do we want to go with the plastic coverings? It would definitely make things even more damp, and it would also enable the top surface of the material to remain quite damp and prone to worm traffic. So, like I said, they're right here within reach. It wouldn't take much to deploy. Oh, what did we do? Did we put more bedding on? I'm becoming such a scatterbrain in my old age. But whatever. Like they say, can't go too overboard on bedding in most cases. Interesting question came up in the comments of some of my videos recently, though, about going overboard. And it was really more about, can you go overboard on grit, like the pulverized eggshell that I use as grit in my bins. And, I mean, on the surface, I can't think of any reason why that could possibly cause any sort of issues. It might be an interesting test at some point to give that a try. If anyone's ever, even by accident, maybe ended up in a situation where they were just kind of in overload on grit, maybe your container slipped out of your hand and you ended up just pouring a ton of pulverized eggshell into your system. If I had to guess, I would assume that nothing bad became of it. So I just wonder if that's indeed the case. Has anyone out there ever done that or had that happen to them? If it did, then please leave a comment. Let me know how that turned out for you. Going overboard on pulverized eggshell. All right, very nice. Trying to get stuff leveled off here, and we're pretty much done. I guess this is the opportunity to return some of this lovely material back down into the bin. As long as we're hosing stuff down. And I do wonder if covering with plastic could potentially run us into a overly damp situation, kind of swing us from one extreme to the other. And that's something I wouldn't want to induce. So I am starting to lean towards just leaving the bubble wrap off for now. Perhaps in some future check-in we'll opt to deploy it. But kind of like I said last time, one countermeasure at a time is the best way to size up how that countermeasure is working for you. And in this case, we could kind of go with dampening plus protecting, but I think we're just going to go on with the dampening routine for a little while longer because it seems to be working. All right, everyone, that's it for the check-in. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.